Picture a moment in history when the destiny of a whole nation hinged upon the strength of a single individual. A woman, indeed. In an era where men held the reins of power, a remarkable woman arose, her bravery and discernment poised to alter the annals of time. Her name, Deborah. She was no mere woman. She held the dual roles of judge and prophetess, an exceptional blend of divine wisdom and legal prowess. In the book of Judges, Deborah is described as a brave and resolute woman. When Israel was struggling under foreign rule, she became a change agent. In the hill country of Ephraim, she was a wise judge who provided direction and divine hope while sitting beneath a palm tree. She defied social norms with courage and unwavering determination, shining as a beacon of justice and faith for her people. Her story is about leadership. But how did this exceptional woman achieve such success? What lessons can we learn today from her hidden story? Stay with us as we learn about courage, faith, and timeless guidance from Deborah's story. Suppose that Israel had been under siege by foreign powers and split apart by war. In the book of Judges, Israel goes through a difficult period. The consequences of the people's repeated transgressions of morality were unavoidable. Deborah led her people from hopelessness to victory during a period of intense upheaval. In order to comprehend her story, we need to go back in time and examine the complex web of society and history that influenced her world. The Israelites were under the rule of Jabin, the Canaanite king, who possessed unparalleled military prowess. The Israelites were terrified by the 900 iron chariots that the ruthless leader Sisera commanded. In contrast to the Israelites, these chariots demonstrated technological advancement. For 20 years, Israel's children suffered under Jabin's leadership. In addition to tedious labor and oppressive taxes, they lived in continual fear of violence and raids. But how did the Israelites end up in such trouble? They went through a time of severe distress and despair. When they sin and are saved, the truth comes to light. The Israelites in the book of Judges turn away from the Lord, worship false deities, and become morally reprehensible. So the Lord allowed their adversaries to triumph over them. The people would cry out, and he would summon a judge, a savior, to save them. The Israelites swiftly turned away from God's faithfulness and resumed their sinful behavior after the peace was restored. Analyze the setting of Deborah's story by following this cycle of rebellion, repercussions, and redemption. Deborah defies the conventions of her era by becoming a leader. Women in ancient Near Eastern societies were frequently kept in the house and had limited influence over politics and military strategy. Under the palm of Deborah, a remarkable woman, was judged and prophesied. She provided guidance, settling disputes, and disclosing insights from God. Respecting her leadership and wisdom, people came to her for advice. Deborah was a judge because God called her to restore justice and peace to a society in turmoil. Her character, wisdom, and divine blessing are clear in this. She ensured that God's will and commands were carried out by serving as a conduit between the faithful and Him. A troubled land was brought back to order by her presence. Deborah's steadfast faith in God sets her apart. Others hesitated, but Deborah trusted the Almighty to assist His chosen ones. An important confrontation was set in motion. They faced the army of Canaan with its formidable chariots and warriors who had been honed by battle. Israel lacked resources and confidence due to years of hardship. Deborah was able to help the Lord raise the spirits of His people. Instead of relying on their own strength, He urged them to rise, fight for their freedom, and trust in His power. Deborah ventured into this world of gloom, hopelessness, and separation. It was full of potential for change, though. Deborah's bravery, discernment, and faith made her a representation of how the divine can enable anyone to carry out his divine purposes, irrespective of gender, background, or social standing. The leadership of Deborah, which resulted in one of the greatest triumphs in sacred history, will be recounted in this video. Check out how a modest woman turned into a champion for justice and a ray of hope for generations to come. Think of a world where men were the only leaders and patriarchy prevailed. Consider an ancient Israeli woman standing beneath a palm tree, announcing the words of the Almighty, enforcing justice, and radiating authority. Discover Deborah, a trailblazing woman whose life story has impacted countless people throughout history, but has not been fully told. We examine her unique dual role as a prophetess and judge today, demonstrating how she rebelled against society to become one of the most influential figures in sacred history. Deborah, the judge, a light of justice and wisdom. Understanding the function of judges in Deborah's era is essential to appreciating her significance. In the Judges, Israel had no king. They trusted judges chosen by God to lead them in justice, faith, and war instead. The Almighty appointed these judges to deliver his people from oppression because they were wise counselors, adept at settling conflicts, and deliverers. Deborah distinguished herself from these leaders by being more than just a judge. She was an honest representative of her position. She gathered under the palm of Deborah, Judges 4.5, which stood for wisdom and justice, according to the sacred story. To hear her wisdom, people traveled all over the world. In times of strife and uncertainty, Deborah was a wise leader who guided those in need, listened to her people's hardships, and settled conflicts amicably. With her commitment, she gained the trust of the country. What gave her influence? She was a sensible person by nature. She exhibited humility, compassion, and a strong commitment to moral behavior. Deborah was strong during a period when women faced many obstacles, but she did so by using her abilities and a higher power, rather than by fighting or defying authority. Her presence under that palm tree demonstrated that the divine can use any person, regardless of gender, to fulfill his divine purposes. Deborah, as a sacred wisdom messenger and seer beyond judging, Deborah left a lasting impression. She was a prophetess, speaking for God. In this capacity, her notoriety only grew. Prophets made the connection between the divine and humanity, while judges acted as mediators between people. Deborah was more than just a translator. She told the people what God wanted. Few could match her spiritual authority. She demonstrates her prophetic calling in Judges 4:6-7. Deborah calls forth the valiant army commander Barak and declares a divine directive. Go. Assemble 10,000 warriors and go up to Mount Tabor, for I will transfer Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, into your hands. Deborah remains silent. She communicates messages from God. The certainty is unflinching. She conveys her message with courage and confidence. Deborah's unwavering courage as a leader is evident in this moment. Prophetesses encountered many challenges. Unwavering strength in doubt was necessary in a world that disregarded the voices of women. Deborah, frightened, spoke. Knowing that God was the source of her strength, she boldly followed her divine calling. Why Deborah's two roles are important. Let's examine its importance. What is the modern equivalent of an ancient woman? Deborah's story demonstrates the strength of total surrender to God and goes beyond history. Her extraordinary function as a prophetess and judge imparts numerous valuable lessons to us. There was a story to be told in a world of wisdom and wonder. This was a story that would illuminate faith and understanding while captivating a large audience. Every character, serving as a conduit for teachings, embarked on an enduring journey that encouraged everyone to pay attention and think. As the story progresses, it invites the listener to delve deeper into its profound truths, full of meaning and purpose. Deborah demonstrates that true leadership is not limited by social standing, gender, or race. Deep wisdom, devotion to God, and unwavering faith are its defining characteristics. Deborah trusted faith rather than her own strength. She led fearlessly when others faltered in uncertainty because of her unshakable faith in God. 3. Remind yourself of Deborah whenever you feel undervalued. In His divine plan, the Almighty frequently selects the most unlikely to accomplish His most important goals. 4th, spirituality and justice walk together. Deborah struck a balance between her spiritual and judicial responsibilities. She teaches us that having a strong spiritual connection and sound judgment are essential for effective leadership. An unusual leader. As we reflect on Deborah's extraordinary life, her legacy astounds us. She was more than a prophetess or judge. She was a trailblazer who broke with tradition and made her mark on history. There, beneath that palm tree, she settled disputes and led people to God. Through her predictions, she gave insight into God's character and future plans. When you question your leadership skills or abilities, Deborah can motivate you. A divine wisdom figure leading her people to victory, for the one she served is the woman beneath the palm tree. We are encouraged by her story to boldly and firmly believe in our destiny. Deborah, the judge and prophetess, whose legacy continues to inspire us today, is a remarkable woman. Deborah's tale ends with a holy conflict that would alter Israel's destiny and the dominance of the land. A tale that inspires generations is woven here by faith, courage, and divine direction. The divine call of Deborah. Before the battle, Deborah called on Barak, a courageous Naphtali leader. Arise, assemble 10,000 warriors from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead them to the heights of Mount Tabor. I will bring Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and soldiers, into your hands. Judges 4:6-7. This directive was divine, unambiguous, and powerful. Barak was hesitant. I shall go if you accompany me, but if not, I shall not go, he retorted. Judges 4:8. Why was Barak so adamant about Deborah being present? Was he embarrassed or scared of failing without her? It's possible that he recognized her unique relationship with God and realized how important her prayers and insight were to winning. This moment makes clear a crucial fact. Even the strongest of us require help, insight, and inspiration, frequently from unexpected places. Getting ready for conflict. Barak gathered 10,000 Naphtali and Zebulun warriors with Deborah's assistance. On Mount Tabor, they assembled to gaze over the valley. Jabin's strong leader, Sisera, assembled his army in 900 iron chariots, which at the time represented military might. Israel appeared to have insurmountable obstacles to overcome. Once strong battle engines, chariots terrorized opponents by trampling them underfoot. How could a small band of fighters take on such a strong and well-equipped opponent? What's surprising is that Deborah had more faith in human strength or clever schemes. She reminded Barak gently, "Don't you realize that the Lord comes before you?" They declared their faith that the Almighty's presence, not weapons, was their greatest strength. Judges 4:14. Barak and his men bravely fought Sisera's army on the Kishon River after descending from Mount Tabor. The hand of providence. What followed defies logic and reveals the story's divine undertone. The Kishon overflowed during the battle between the two armies. According to experts, unforeseen floods or rains transformed the battlefield into a dangerous muck. Ensnared, the once powerful chariots lost their strength and were unable to accomplish their mission. Sisera's forces, once strong, were terrified as their advantage diminished. The Canaanites fled, but Barak and his valiant warriors followed and destroyed them in the confusion. Consider the Israelites' jubilant shouts as they pursue their enemies, the ferocious rush of water tumbling down, and the frantic cries of soldiers stuck in the muck. An extraordinary event was shaped by divine will. Israel's downfall was caused by the weapons that made them afraid. A tale of guidance and trust. Wisdom, trust, and direction are the results of this massive struggle. First of all, it demonstrates that genuine strength, not wealth, comes from trusting in God's promises. When Barak took a leap of faith, God blessed him, despite his hesitation and uncertainty. Secondly, humility is emphasized. In addition to his own strength, Barak relied on Deborah's spiritual leadership. Lastly, it serves as a reminder that God frequently uses outliers to accomplish his divine purposes. Who would have imagined that a reluctant leader with divine insight could become so great? The significance of this story in the present. Whether in our personal lives, careers, or communities, life presents challenges. Like Barak, we might not know what the future holds. Deborah's valiant battle against the Canaanites demonstrates that without divine assistance, no task is insurmountable. In the face of uncertainty, it encourages us to hold fast to our faith. As we reflect on this major conflict, we should ask ourselves, are we prepared to answer the divine call, even when the challenges appear insurmountable? It inspires us to identify the Deborahs in our lives, wise and dependable individuals who enable us to see beyond our limitations and trust the divine plan. Will we be able to rely on local knowledge the way Barak did Deborah? Above all, are we really of the opinion that the Almighty leads us to victory? Beyond merely being a historical event, the battle against the Canaanites demonstrates what happens when actions and beliefs are combined. You should tell this story repeatedly. As Deborah's story progresses, a noteworthy and significant moment becomes apparent. Jael, Heber the Kenite's wife, is courageous. Conflict's effects. This section demonstrates how fate combines with the lives of common people to produce amazing results. Deborah's promise of victory over General Sisera's Canaanite forces inspired Barak to rally 10,000 courageous Israelis. They banded together on the Kishon River to oppose Sisera's formidable army. The occasion was remarkable. The Lord defeated Sisera along with his army and all of his chariots, according to Judges 4:15. The strong Canaanite army suddenly disintegrated and escaped in a stunning turn of events. One last thread remained, though victory appeared imminent: Sisera's capture or death. Sisera fled the chaos as soon as he realized he had lost. When he needed shelter, he went to the tent of Heber the Kenite's wife, Jael. Let's get started on the fascinating tale. Once allies of the Canaanites, Sisera thought he had found safety among the Kenites. He didn't know that this choice would lead to his demise and alter the course of history. Jael. Unexpected winner. Sisera was greeted in Jael's tent, exhausted and terrified. It's possible that she won his trust by giving him milk rather than water. Perceiving her kindness, Sisera gave her instructions to monitor her and deceive anyone who might attempt to locate him. After a long day at work, he drifted into a deep sleep, but Jael had other intentions. While Sisera slept, she snuck up a hammer and tent peg, which were basic implements in her day. and went up to him. She obstinately secured his head to the floor by driving the peg through his temple. It took guts and conviction to do this courageous and unwavering deed. Deborah prophesied, "The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman," which Jael accomplished. Judges 4:9. The prophecy came true because of her courage. Deeper symbols and meanings. This moment is captivating because of its profound meaning, in addition to the action. Sisera stands for injustice, tyranny, and oppression. His demise at the hands of Jael, a woman devoid of political or military authority, serves as a reminder that God frequently uses unlikely people to bring about justice and deliverance. Jael highlights the unity of women in Deborah's story. While Jael's courage resulted in Israel's freedom, Deborah demonstrated both spiritual insight and strategic skill during a time of need. When these two women stand together, they demonstrate that true strength can take many forms, and that the divine narrative includes even the weak. A tale of faith and bravery. Jael's behavior teaches us a lot. True bravery, like steady hands driving a tent peg, first whispers. Secondly, faith necessitates action. Jael immediately took a stand for God and her people. Finally, this story demonstrates that God calls everyone to fulfill his divine plans, regardless of gender, status, or background. Whether you are a courageous warrior like Barak, a loving homemaker like Jael, or a wise judge like Deborah, every role counts. The reason this moment speaks now. Think of yourself as Jael at that pivotal point. She courageously took on the difficulties during emergencies without the aid of troops or armor. When called upon, are we prepared to step outside of our comfort zones? Will we take on challenges for everyone? Our questions are important because in this day and age, ordinary people have incredible opportunities to change the world. As we piece together Deborah's story, we discover the complex relationships between each element. Jael's decisive action, Barak's obedience, and Deborah's prophecy all combine to produce an incredible victory. We're encouraged to think about how we fit into the grand narratives that influence our lives as we listen. Who can tell? Maybe you're getting ready for a big moment, just like Jael did for her purpose. As we watch this video, let's remember that even tiny acts of faith can have a big impact. Come along for the next chapter as we examine the timeless wisdom of Deborah's remarkable journey. Treasures from ancient wonders have their own stories. These relics provide insight into the lives, cultures, and beliefs of the past. They invite us to reflect on the teachings and mysteries of history. Investigation of writing, making images, storytelling through images. Keep in mind that AI-generated content might be inaccurate. Thoughts on tradition and religion. When beyond history, Deborah's story imparts valuable lessons that are relevant today. Her journey teaches faith in divine purpose, fearlessness in the face of adversity, and guidance based on understanding. To discover how these lessons can support us in leading fulfilling lives, let's examine them. Bravery in adversities. During Deborah's lifetime, Israel was experiencing massive upheaval, as many were terrified by King Jabin and his strong general, Sisera. The Israelites were experiencing great distress, suffering, and fear. Deborah persisted, her light serving as a beacon of hope. She courageously followed her divine calling in a world dominated by men. Her courage stemmed from her belief in God. She had faith that Barak would lead the army against Sisera for reasons greater than just military prowess. This demonstrates that enduring fear is a necessary component of bravery. We are urged, like Deborah, to step outside of our comfort zones and put our faith in the Lord for the journey. Remember that in the face of societal injustices, professional obstacles, or personal adversity, true courage stems from unwavering faith. Think, what anxieties are preventing you from moving forward? How can I get past these challenges using my beliefs? Fair and intelligible counsel. Deborah was a prophetess and judge who embodied servant leadership. Instead of pursuing ambition or power, she led with grace and wisdom. Rather, she sat beneath Deborah's palm and listened to the arguments of her people while giving them sage counsel. She led others with compassion, fairness, and warmth. Her character and wisdom attracted people to her. Service, not titles, is the foundation of true leadership, as this teaches. Real leaders prioritize the well-being of the community, uphold moral principles, and inspire others. Deborah's story pushes us to rethink leadership at a time when it's frequently connected to ambition and power. Are your neighbors, family, or co-workers mentored by you? How can one become as modest and equitable as Deborah? Making decisions that are guided by divine inspiration and showing kindness to others are hallmarks of true leadership. Inspirational conviction. Deborah is remarkable for her unwavering faith. Deborah, instead of reprimanding Barak, urged him to obey God's command while she was away. She soothed him instead, reminding him gently that a woman would receive the honor if he did nothing. She hoped her words would encourage him and strengthen his faith in God's plan. Deborah had a loud and active faith. She did not wait for miracles. Instead, she actively engaged in divine plans. We all require this balance between action and faith. It's simple to claim to believe in God, but do our deeds reflect that? Should we continue on His divine path, even when it seems uncertain? Deborah demonstrates to us that action and obedience are necessary for genuine faith. Praying for change is not enough. We also need to do something. Urge others to pursue their divine destiny. Deborah had another outstanding leadership quality. She encouraged and inspired others. By urging Barak to take command of the army, she demonstrated her ability to identify and capitalize on others' strengths. Despite his reservations, Deborah's astute observation of Barak's strength inspired him to accept his fate. Her prophecy led Jael to defeat Sisera in a stunning turn of events. The lessons of encouragement and support are crucial. If we do not lead, we can encourage and enable those who walk with us to add to God's wonderful story. Who in your group needs a little encouragement to discover their purpose? How can you help others succeed by using your talents? The triumphs of Deborah and others are part of her legacy. Religious belief pushes social limits. Lastly, the story of Deborah questions social conventions. She disobeyed men in a world and demonstrated that anyone who walks in obedience and faith can be used by the Almighty. God surpasses human prejudices and limitations, as demonstrated by her example. In order to become great, He selects unlikely heroes like Deborah, Gideon, and David. Deborah challenges us to reject limited definitions and accept the individual calling of the divine. Your gender, background, or situation does not define your value or greatness. The important thing is that you are willing to follow the divine call. In light of Deborah's life, we ask ourselves, what will I leave for my descendants? Will it be a courageous, sage, and optimistic story? Or is it going to be fear and missed chances? You ought to be encouraged to have courage, humility, and faith in God's plan by Deborah's story. The God who gave Deborah strength is here today, ready to help you get ready for what lies ahead. Reflect on Deborah's inspiring tale and consider how you might use these lessons in your own path. We would appreciate it if you could leave a comment below with your thoughts. As our biography of Deborah draws to a close, let's consider her profound wisdom. In addition to being a judge or prophetess, Deborah was also a beacon of hope during dark times. Through her unwavering faith in God, she transformed a nation and boldly challenged the conventions of her time. Deborah demonstrates that genuine authority stems not from titles, gender, or social standing, but rather from a deep belief in a higher calling. Her story is more than just history. It touches our hearts and motivates coming generations. She did not pursue power. Instead, she selflessly served the divine purpose. She led her people wisely under the palm of Deborah, heard their sincere cries, and fairly settled their conflicts. She became a symbol of solidarity, demonstrating that compassion, honesty, and fairness are the foundations of true leadership. How often do we see leaders like that these days? Will there ever be leaders who prioritize the needs of others over their own? Deborah encourages us to use these qualities to guide nations, build communities, uphold families, or tend to our souls. One of Deborah's most notable qualities is her courage. As Barak was hesitant to fight without her, just think of the burden she was carrying. Deborah continued, recognizing his doubt and reminding him of the promise of God. True bravery, as demonstrated in this instance, is the ability to face fear head-on. Deborah stepped bravely from her palm tree to fight with Barak. Because we believe that the Almighty is preparing us for our challenges, her bravery encourages us to face our fears. Its inclusiveness is the most important lesson from Deborah's story. How many people contributed to Sisera's defeat is demonstrated in this story. Every moment of this divine orchestration was masterfully planned by the Almighty, with Barak leading the army and Jael leading with courage. Events were a collective effort, demonstrating that no one person achieves success alone. Whether you lead or assist, know that your contribution counts on every journey. Gather and talk about the crucial issue. Our actions, no matter how minor, have the power to alter history, like Jael's tent peg driving. What does the centuries-old story of Deborah mean today? Her experience speaks to our present difficulties. Deborah encourages women everywhere to fight for equality. Deborah has overcome challenges, garnered recognition, and exemplified the limitless potential of genuine strength. Her story serves as a reminder to those who are having trouble with their identity and role. You are valuable. You possess the strength within you. Your contributions are important. Deborah navigates the unknown with unwavering faith. Personal hardships, social injustices, and worldwide crises are just a few of the storms that life brings. But Deborah reminds us that the divine is always there and is planning deliverance even when we cannot see it. If we follow his divine purposes, we become change agents like her. We can be inspired by her courage, which came from her unwavering faith in God's promises. As we come together, allow me to share the important takeaway from today's conversation. Accept the objective first. Like Deborah, we all have special abilities and gifts that we can use to fulfill a higher calling. Do not back down out of fear or self-doubt. Have faith that as you walk in the Lord's ways, he will supply all of your needs. Secondly, show courage. God equips those he calls, not the qualified, even though the road ahead may appear challenging. Finally, believe in the timing of the universe. Although victory might take some time, if we remain steadfast in our faith, the Almighty will surpass our expectations in carrying out his promises. Before we conclude, I would like to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you in Deborah's story? What insight or lesson resonated with you? Please leave your thoughts in the space provided below. I'm looking forward to this insightful discussion. Please support me by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who needs encouragement right now. I appreciate you joining me on this incredible journey through Deborah's untold story, a judge, prophetess, and hero whose legacy inspires us all. Until we cross paths again, remember the significant impact you can have on the world. Let your light shine and remain loyal to your convictions. You have unimaginable courage, strength, and love, like Deborah of old. So don't lose hope. I am eager for our next meeting.